What's up, yo? No music, no nothing. I should have music. Should I have music? I don't know. Can I, is this gonna work? No, don't leave me. Don't stop. Oh, yeah. Whoa. Whoa. What's that, So how we all doing? Just trying to set the mood, you know. We're here to talk about sleepy time tea. We're here to talk about how loud this music should or shouldn't be. So I have some thoughts. So, you know, a lot of the content creators, I'm talking I'm going to call them out by name. DB, Llama SC, Alzo Wrath, Cooley. You know, they're all talking about the changes, the PTR, the 2.4, the D2R. You know what I'm saying. Ended. Alright? So Blizzard's already figured this shit out. Okay? But I've been watching these videos and I've occasionally been commenting. And of course, like all men, I believe my ideas are genius. And no one is listening enough to me. No one's paying enough attention to me. So I just want to go through and give some of my thoughts. Get my voice out there. Let the people know. The people, they're clamoring. No, but I just want to, and I have a couple thoughts, but I'll get to my thoughts after these first few thoughts. So some of the changes, class changes, I'll get to that, I guess. So one thing, let's talk about mercs. The merc changes. I'm pretty cool with, in general, I'm pretty cool with the sort of cautious approach that they've been taking overall to most things. You know, this is one patch. There can be another patch, you know. I've been playing this game the way it is for 20 years. I don't think, you know, I'm not... Dubrunski's always like, I need new content. I'm getting bored. But I'm not even playing the fucking game. But, much love, DB. But, yeah, so one of the things that's a huge buff is just allowing insight to be made on a bow. You know, I think we have to consider the interplay between the rune words and the mercs. You know, one of the ways that they give buff mercs is to put in new items that you could equip on a merc, you know. So things like the mist, you know, have a concentration aura on a bow. That's a buff. That's a buff to an Act 1 mercenary. It also, you could use on a character, but that's a buff to an Act 1 mercenary. So, so I like what they're doing. Act 3 obviously sucks. So I guess the big topic on mercenaries is auras, whether or not you should have auras. And I had an idea that I commented on one of Llama's videos. The Act 3 mercenaries, because one of the things about them is they have no life tap, and so they fucking die. Well, what if you had, and it would be no better than a normal Act 2 merc at first, but you could have a prayer aura, and then like a cleansing aura synergized with prayer, so it has life regen and the cleansing aura. And in hell mode, you could have it, the Act 3 mercenary have like a, is it meditation? The one that's on insight? So then it's like an insight merc, you know, but plus maybe some crowd control. They also should have better moves and do more damage. That's for sure, you know. I don't know why a merc can't have frozen orb. You know, would that be bad? Anyway, and so I think the Act 1 merc now occasionally... the Act 1 merc was already the like only other merc that ever got some use, partially because of faith, partially... But, so I think the Act 1 merc's in a good place-ish. Maybe needs some more, I don't know. The Act 5 merc, I still don't know if anyone's really going to use it. And, but yeah, the auras are too good, you know? They gave the Act 5 mercs, what was it, Warcry? I don't know why you can't have them have battle orders. You know? Is that like too much to have them kind of be like the poor man's CTA? You know? Is that crazy? I feel like that's comparable benefit to Might Auras and Holy Freeze Auras. You know? I think it's roughly there. I don't see why you can't have a, you know, give him battle orders. Is it really crazy to have an Act 5 Merc have battle orders? I don't think so. Anyway. So that's that. The new rune words, I don't have many complaints about this, except Plague sucks and should be made in a claw. I mean, here you have a claw rune. It's like, it sucks. Put it in a claw. Yeah, you read the stats, I'm like, oh wow, great claw, and then you look, it's sword. It's like, okay. Unbending will, okay. Again, that's like, this is for an Act 5 mercenary. I think it's basically their idea, and it's okay. The Wisdom Helm, I'm diggy down with it, like another way to get piercing, can it be frozen? I mean, it seems like, it's not like amazing, but it's cool. You could see it getting use, Not every item has to be amazing, which brings me to like, Flickering Flame I think is good, it kind of rounds out the Griffins, Nightwings thing, and it's hard to get negative fire res, and fire, people have complained fire builds are a little bit lackluster, so I think it's nice. And the resist fire, I feel like this is like a top tier Merc helm. Even if it's not like a Merc. I mean, the Vex is maybe a little expensive, but like, you put this on your Merc and you never need fire resistance on your build. You don't have to spec for fire resistance, like at all, So I feel like it's a top tier, maybe for hardcore especially, like it's a top tier Merc helm, in my opinion. But it also has all these other cool things. Mist, I talked about. Obsession, people are like down on it. And I'm a little bit down on it because I think there's a weird thing where it's like, okay, not enough rune words use Zod. Okay, cool. So make more Zod rune words. But, what does Zod do? It makes something indestructible. Okay, well that's something that benefits ethereal items, melee items, or armors, So why not have a Zod rune word that's an armor, or a helmet, or a shield, or a weapon? I mean, we already have tons of weapon rune words. Maybe that's why they wanted to stay away from it. And I think it is cool to have a staff. But the Zod, people are like, well, Zod is cheap. Well, it's cheap because it's not very desirable, but it is extremely rare, And so what if you're a single player? You're never going to make this fucking thing, You're never going to make this fucking thing. If you get a Zod and you make an obsession as a single player, you're a fucking moron, honestly. But I do just like, it is cool to have niche items, I mean, it's possible that you could be running through the game and like the first high rune you ever drop is a Zod and you're like, hey, I can make this. What the fuck? I'm running. That's possible, but so I just don't get like the Zod. Like I like the staff idea. I like the more Zod idea, but then they kind of put them together and it's like, I don't get that. Because, I mean, you can make it an ethereal staff, but casting never took durability off things. So I don't know. It's like the main Zod indestructible is kind of an incredible stat, and it is 1,000% wasted. Like why? I don't really get that. I just thought that was stupid. But this is a good change, like I said. And then the only other things I want to talk about are like, so all these skill changes, people have talked a lot about this stuff. And, I watched Dabrunski's videos and you feel for the guy because, and I'm saying this with complete love. Dabrunski will make a build video and he'll have all these people complaining, oh, it's not a budget build, blah, blah, blah. We need budget builds. Everything has Enigma and Infinity and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, fine. And then Dabrunski will make like an off-meta character build, even with, and then everyone's like, well, it's not like top tier build. It's not like players A, blah, blah, blah. And, I don't understand that. So to me, it's like the question that I've been wondering, seeing a lot of people's reaction to some of these changes is like, and people, especially when they like put the red line through some of the things, I mean, whatever. But basically all these changes are buffs. you know? So they've made builds that were totally not viable, like really actually not viable, like pretty much you could not beat the game with them, you know? They've made them you could beat the game with them, and you know, and it's fun. And so this is what the people's idea, this is what I have some, I don't know, thoughts or disagreement about. Say, what is a viable build? You know, not every skill is going to allow you to farm on player's 8. That's not a thing. That will never be a thing, you know? Like Fist of the Heavens, you know, people make a Fist of the Heavens like, oh, it's a lot better, but it's not that great because, well, it's like, yeah, Fist of the Heavens is a single target skill. Do we not want, any single target skills in the game? Does everything have to be AoE? Everything has to be splash damage. Everything has to be as clearing as much as possible, as fast as possible. You know, I just think I don't get that idea. You know, I play all these like the throw barb. People are like, oh, the throw barb, it's not good enough. Well, first of all, the throw barb was kind of good. I made a throw barb. It was pretty good, and I had fun playing it. I think I make mostly melee builds, which everyone says is so weak. So, oh, melee is so rough. I make almost only melee builds because that's fun for me to play. I think it's more fun to go up to a monster and smash it. Okay? You know? To me, just exploding the screen with the like that, to me that's not that much fun. To me that's, you know, that's magic finding. And you know, back in the day when I was on back on the day when I was on BattleNet, when I was playing online, everyone had a magic finding character, and it was hammered in or light sork with infinity, like 95%. And then you would find shit, and you would trade, and you would make dueling characters to go dueling. That's what everyone I knew did. That's what I did. No one gave a shit that you had one magic finding character, and you magic found on that character, and you know people bought it. But you know, besides that, but no one gave a shit that you only had one character to magic find with. You'd go magic find, and then you'd take what you found, you trade, and you go dueling. And there were a lot of good dueling characters. You know, there were a lot of good dueling characters. And so now we have more viable builds, more ways to get through the game that are fun. And no, not every one of them is going to be as fast as a light sork with infinity or a hammered in. You know, that's how it is. You know, I just don't, I just have no problem with that. I like to, you know, I think it's fun that you can make like a Fend Zon now. All this stuff is like buffed. I think that's pretty cool. Martial arts, major buff, you know. I tried to make a Phoenix Strike assassin once, and it just kind of sucked, especially because I didn't have good gear back then. But now, I don't know, like, it's all buffed. It's all buffed, you know? So, I don't have a problem. I think it's pretty cool, you know? Wake of Fire, I would have loved to. Wake of Fire is probably still too weak. And you know, no, and I'm not saying that everything is perfect and nothing should be changed or buffed further. Definitely some things should be, you know, or like I was saying about the throw barb. Now that I'm coming, you know, they had they added quantity to the weapons. Why not increase the rate? Add quantity and increase the rate at which they replenish. I don't know. Like, is it such a great mechanic to have to go back to town to repair your items? I mean, is that a terrific mechanic? I mean, that often, you know? I like the mechanic of durability, but it was a little nutty, was it not, with the throw barb? So, yeah, I'm not saying everything's perfect by a long shot, but I think it's cool, and I don't think that every build has to be so amazing. I just think it's funny that maybe it's because of the content creators. I don't know what it is. The culture of the game seems to have shifted towards a PVM, you know? And something like Bone Spirit is kind of similar to me to Fist of the Heavens. It's a dueling skill. It's a dueling skill. Dueling is part of the game. I think it's a skill for dueling. Like, when are you going to use Bone Spirit in PVM? Like, single target Bone Spirit? It moves super slow. it's guided. I just don't see why you'd use it, you know? And everyone wants to like, and the thing about, I know, buffing the spear, but it's like, is everyone not just gonna use corpse explosion and explode the entire screen as soon as they get one kill? I don't know why, you know, why is everyone crying about some of these skills that they're not going to use in that way, you know? So I think Cooley has some good points about that. And yeah, the holy fire thing, when people, you know, people had discussions of whether it's not overpowered, you could look at some of those videos and you could not hit a monster because everything died before you got to it. That's overpowered. I don't know what to tell you. That's wild, you know? You can't even if you try, you can barely even ever hit anything. And it's like, oh, well, if you set it all up to players 8, it's like, okay, well, yeah, but now you're clearing players 8 like you used to clear players 1. And I understand you just want to beat the shit out of everything and beat the game as fast as possible. But again, I just think a little differently about that. So those are some of my thoughts. I think there's some more changes that could happen, of course. You know, one idea I had was like rabies. There was a video about rabies. I think what if you expand the range at which rabies spreads from one monster to another? I think that would improve that skill a lot. Because that's the whole concept of the skill, is that it spreads. And it kind of doesn't do that. You look at the gameplay, you bite a monster, maybe it gets to a second monster. Like, monsters have to be basically bumping up against each other, you know? But the mechanic of the skill could be a very cool one, where you bite a monster and it spreads. You know, it doesn't have to spread to something half a screen away, but like a yard, you know, just so you don't have to be bumping up against it. Something like that. I don't know what a yard is in the game. I don't know. A tile, a yard, I don't know. Those measures never really made sense to me. But, you know, like a little bit. I don't know. Anywho, and you know, another change I would like to see sometime is to have like an equivalent of Ariat Summit for all this information. You know, Ariat Summit is like halfway obsolete by now. I don't know, like, where are all these buffs? Where's like the, you know, level 0 to 20 or 1 to 20? Here's the chart. Here's the graph, whatever. Anyway, have I spoken enough? Probably. Too much? Probably. So those were like a couple of my thoughts. You know, again, I've got a lot of great ideas. I got a lot of great ideas. You gotta reach out to me. And I'm talking directly to Blizzard, of course, which I assume that I have this like fantasy that there's a small contingent of people at Blizzard. There's like one guy who's watching all my videos and being like, this is it, and he like goes to the meeting with all these other 20 people and he's like, we gotta listen to Kruggers, and everyone's like, fuck you. But that's a total joke, by the way. But that is my dream. And so I think I'm actually amazed. You know, when I heard they were going to do all this shit, I was like, oh, they're going to fuck it up, you know? But actually, I think they're not fucking it up. I actually think they're taking a somewhat light touch, buffing skills that were like never used. And, you know, it's been 22 fucking years with this game. I think this is a pretty nice, you know, thing. So, catch you on the flip.